Okay. It is recording.
Can you ask if this was the right one? I know. Why did you ask them?
I just wanted to make sure. Double checking is important.
Because we found the one.
Yeah.
And then this one is also messed up, so. I'm just being different. Thanks.
Where's people? We're totally sure. Black cow over there. I think
Yeah, they bring it back
brown
up.
there. That's okay, that would be kind of dangerous.
Yeah.
It's sus. I need a wrench. You grab a wrench?
Um, Oh, you did, you done road. There was done road, yes. Done road. Done road. Well, we're the clamor, kids are gonna use to take that. Old crypto. Body crypts.
Yeah, they're not actually crimpers. Just-
I hope this worked right. Megan, can you try to join the Zoom?
Yeah.
Why do we have a stand up there?
I put it there.
Let's get this out of the way first.
Do you feel ready, Andrew?
I'm as ready as I can be, and it's like having things laid out nice.
Yeah.
Do you feel ready?
Yeah, I think so.
Run on. But that also, this big tool, yeah, bye.
What?
Run on torque.
Oh, they get torque specs for all the bolts?
I think
Okay.
they're certified aerospace grade.
What are all the sensors?
Things, but
Oh, I
What?
just remembered that. I didn't pull up his comments from the second report.
oh. Probably our Burnson file was super wacky
Yeah, that was one of them.
since it won.
You still on? And no, bro, I was.
We started a Minecraft server for our house and I
Yeah.
haven't time to play on it yet and they're already like ready to fight the Ender Dragon.
Oh, yeah, Josh.
I tell them to get a life, but then they probably would not be as participative in Rocketry.
So we never got feedback from this judge on report 2. But we did from the other one.
Did this
So
also mention that they're not great with computers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Jose's here. Hi, Jose. Can you hear me?
There we go. Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome.
Sick.
So who did you end up sending report to then?
The report?
Yeah,
Hero.
Well, we submitted through HeroX, the tech report.
oh, that's how that goes. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the judge that we're talking to today is the one that looked at our progress reports.
I
So,
see.
yeah. He actually didn't give us feedback on the second progress report, but a different judge did. He's like our backup judge.
Okay.
And then neither of them had any comments for our third report. So,
Huh. I guess it's perfect.
yeah, one of the third report didn't have much on it, so I think that helped. But the main purpose of this safety review meeting is to make sure we're ready to launch. So like, if we're not ready to launch right now, what do we need to do to get there? And then the other thing is make sure that the comments from the second report are resolved, which they have been. So they were
Good.
mostly like typing errors, like we accidentally wrote 15,000 feet for the main deployment or something. I don't know.
Quick read, really?
I don't know how that happened, but, yeah, yeah, it was Andrew.
A Freudian slip.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I have fat fingers.
Make sure we don't do that where programming emails.
Yeah,
Literally.
that's a good idea. I like that idea. Oh,
So David should be joining, Rachel should be joining, and then our judge, hopefully as well. I'm gonna
Cool.
make Rachel's ready because it is 6.
So, what did you guys think about, doing that,
The news?
that video? Yeah,
Yeah. So I saw in there that they record like Wednesday afternoons, which I work
Yeah.
during that time, so I think I would like to do it. I think that'd be super cool. But we'll have to ask them if they can do it, maybe in an evening or something.
right.
Cause I assume Andrew also works in the afternoons. So,
6 to 4:30, 5 o'clock.
yeah,
Through Thursday at least.
Yeah,
Yeah, Friday.
yeah. So I think I'll respond to them and ask them if we can do it at a different time. But that'd be really cool to be on the news. I'm gonna be the only person who's going to the depot thing on Saturday. It's just gonna be Noah and I. So I don't know how much they're gonna be focusing on that or the rocket, but if Andrew does it too,
On Saturday?
no, if you
Depot?
Do the news.
if you
Oh.
do the news thing
Yeah.
later in the week, you could definitely answer questions about the rocket, and I could talk about the depot,
Yeah.
depending on what they ask.
I like the depot.
Are you gonna volunteer at the depot?
Probably not.
I thought you were
Well,
doing air show.
No, you can do I can do the depot, because I haven't said anything about the show yet. And probably
Bruh.
can't go as a result.
I don't know if I'm gonna go.
No,
to
I
the air
think you
show
can
both
definitely still
days.
go.
I've
Well,
had-
if you guys wanna join the depot, it'll be Noah and I, so you can.
I've had a lot of airplanes this week,
And he's seeing it on Friday.
and I'm seeing it on Friday with my family and at least one of Saturday or
You
Sunday.
should volunteer Sunday and do depot with me Saturday.
Okay.
No.
It'll be fun.
How
it'll be
long is
fun.
it?
It's 10 to 2. It
Well,
is
that's
shorter,
better.
yeah.
Yeah. I can
It's
do it.
only 4 hours.
Then it's kind of sort of. a-
I'll do that too.
Yes. Sounds
Then
good.
it's more fun.
Well, then in that case, we can all be on the news,
What?
because we'll all be at the depot.
Oh, is it, they could film
No,
us
they
at the
just-
depot.
Oh, I could ask them. That's true.
If they, oh.
Hello. There's-
Hello.
There's David. We got that, we got that, we got that.
Yeah, exposure.
Where's the nozzle?
By the nozzle.
The rocket? Full of black powder residue.
Okay. Why am I not getting a picture here?
Hello. Your name's Alan, right?
Yes, it is.
Awesome. Nice to meet you. I'm Gwen. I'm the
Gwen?
CEO. This
Andrew
is-
Ludwig, chief engineer.
Yep.
And I'm Dagan. I do that. I'm also the CTO.
David, we can't hear you. David's working on getting his mic working, but he's our flyer of record. And then Jose is another one of our mentors.
Yeah. Hello.
How about now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Do you want to introduce yourself, David?
Yeah, sure. As Gwen mentioned, my name is David Fligger. I am the AAA member and will be the flyer of record and mentor for the team.
Yeah.
Can you
All right.
guys hear me?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
Hear you
Okay.
just fine.
Great. I'm Jose Carrillo. I'm the advisor for this group.
And I'm Alan Whitmore. I've been assigned to do the this virtual safety review for you.
Great.
Alrighty, sounds good. Yeah, so we've never done a virtual one before. I think this is the first year. Do you have sort of a schedule for us? Are we supposed to have a presentation prepared for you beforehand, or how do we go about this?
I don't think a presentation is required. I have 4 safety related questions that I'd like to ask you, and then we can turn it over to anybody else who wants to jump in and contribute to it. I don't think this should take too terribly long. But I do have some things I want to ask you about. So
Yeah,
if that's okay with you, let me just dive right into it.
perfect.
Sounds good.
Let me make sure that I understand that you're going for the 30K SRAD division.
That's
Yes.
correct.
And this is your 7th year competing in this particular competition.
Yep.
Is that right? Okay. The first thing I want to see is which was not clear from the verbal description, was the fin can structure. Do you happen to have the fin can
Yeah,
there?
we do. It is
Or
not.
a good diagram of it that I can look at?
Yeah, it is not complete yet. This is before a tip-to-tip layup, but this is currently what we're working with. So we have an aluminum sub-minimum diameter motor case, and then we scuffed down the outside, and then did 2 layers of carbon fiber composite over top of that, and then we laid up some layers of carbon fiber, water jet cut out a fin, 4 fins for each. We picked the best of a large batch of them, and then we used an epoxy fillet. Jose would know exactly what that epoxy was, but I believe it's a high strength. It's a high strength epoxy, and so we have the fillet on there now, and we still have one last remaining step of doing a tip to tip layup from each of these after sanding down the remaining fillets and scuffing up the carbon fibers. So that's what our fin can looks like. Originally, we had planned to do an aluminum fin can that would clamp over and share some of the bolts of our nozzle carrier or our nozzle retainer. But we weren't able to get the machining to tolerance around the motor for it to clamp correctly. The shape was kind of out of whack, so we moved towards this as a later change to still be able to have a fin can we were confident with. So that's where it's at now. And it still has a little bit left to go, but that's also kind of why we didn't have a final diagram of it.
And that was because your first description in the second report apparently was about that earlier fin can.
Correct.
Yep.
So this is a complete redesign from that.
Yes.
Yep.
How are the fins attached, other than just being? Do they go through the wall, or is it a surface mount?
It is a surface mount, since this tube is also, it's a sub-minimum motor. So within this, we immediately have all of the fuel in our nozzle. So there isn't any wall to go through before hitting our actual motor case.
Yeah, the inside of the aluminum is pressurized, so.
So we have to mount directly onto the surface, otherwise we are penetrating our motor case, and you don't want to be burning through that. So.
Now, the nozzle end of a motor is traditionally the hottest part.
Correct.
Have you investigated the heat properties of the particular epoxy you're using? Are you sure it's going to be able to? I'm not really worried about the flight, because there's the heat soak takes a little while to get through, but coming down, if your epoxy in that part of the world is not still stout, things could be coming loose.
Yeah, I
Yep.
believe, Jose, you can probably speak to this, but
Yeah, this is Jose. The epoxy we developed there has a heat distortion temperature rated to 514 degrees Fahrenheit. And we know from past experience, since we've been using the same motor for all these years, that the exterior temperature of that motor can does not ever seem to exceed 350 degrees. So as far as the composite is concerned, it's well within its operational parameters.
That's 350 Fahrenheit?
350 Fahrenheit, yeah.
Okay. That's fine. The next question concerned the Fineseal design. Is this the first year that your
Yes.
team has done a Fineseal design, or have you done that before?
Correct. This is our first year doing it, and we did a couple of small scale tests with a Finesil in a horizontal test stand. Then we did our one vertical facing downward full scale test for the certification of the motor for SRAD in January, I believe, and that test went off pretty well, I think. So.
So
Yeah.
is the entire length of the motor Fineseal?
No,
It is two 8-inch bait screens, one 9-inch bait screen, and a 11.5-inch approximately Finesil. The Finesil has a taper at the end to turn it into a bait before it reaches the actual grain. So it's sort of a triangle and then down.
So the Fineseal is at the top.
The Finesil is at closest to the nozzle
at the
end.
bottom.
Yes.
Oh. Okay, that's the way your test motor was fired?
Correct.
Well, okay, let's
Oh,
clarify.
oh,
So
oh.
our nozzle was facing in the air for
Oh.
our test. And then closest to the nozzle was the Finesil during our test and then our bait screen. So
Got it.
nearest to the exit port of the nozzle was the Finesil drain.
Got it. Okay. There's a discussion in the recovery section of 2 tender descenders being used.
Correct. I believe we've decided after doing some tension tests, some drop tests, that the risk of having 2 E-matches going into the same tender descender not firing versus having a secondary tender descender snag on the rigging setup we had was not worth it. So we are going to just use a single tender descender with 2 E-matches going to separate separation electronics to prime that. And we got pretty confident in our testing of those. I think we got it down to where we had 10 in a row by the end of it, of having multiple E-matches in our tender descender with a hanging bag of the, I think it was like 95 pounds. So essentially the force of the entire rocket after fuel and tension. Granted, the snatch force would be greater than that, but as it's falling, it should be adequate.
Right.
So,
So you did test them under tension with the
Correct.
two electric matches inserted.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Yes,
correct.
yes. And it would be a single tender descender.
So one single tender descender with 2 E-matches going in is what we settled on. Yes.
Right. Well, the original description was for 2 tender descenders in parallel.
Correct.
I was going to address that because that's not the way to do it if you're doing tender descenders. They need to be in series. But I guess somebody else has told you that.
We kind of figured that out on our own, I
Oh,
think.
good.
So
Excellent.
learning through experience.
Yep.
That's fine.
Mhm.
And my last safety question is, have you found a substitute for the LiPo battery in the Kate? Because they're not going to allow LiPo batteries this year, I understand.
The Kate transmitter is, I guess, we've got it right here. I don't know. Let's see.
That is a good question, actually.
This, given that I am not entirely familiar with the manufacturer of the Kate transmitter. However, I believe the exception in there was for ones that are sold like with the unit by the manufacturer for recovery electronics. And that appears to be the case here.
Yeah, this is not our battery. So
I know Vern, the owner of Multitronics. I will reach out to him because I'm sure he is aware of this, and find out if he's been in communications with the IREC folks to that is the normal LiPo battery that is supplied by Multitronics
Yeah.
for their systems.
That-
But I'll reach out to Vern and see that if he's aware and see if he's got a solution or if it's been addressed.
It does need to be addressed because all I know is that they're moving away from LiPo batteries because of the fire possibilities, but I have not read the actual wording of the precise requirements for this year. So I think it's worthwhile right now to follow that up and find out. They may well very say that if it is included in a piece of hardware that's fine. You don't need to do anything.
Yep,
Mhm.
that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Do you want us to pull up the actual document right now and see if we can find that while we're here? We should have it pretty quickly accessible. We can also move on to, well,
Yeah, we can
you're getting
move
that,
on.
so.
Well, that covers all the things I wanted to know about this.
Okay.
I'm pretty pleased with it. I'm satisfied with what you've done so far. I have no idea what you're going to have to go through in the way of inspections when you get to Las
We're
Cruces.
usually in the same boat.
Yeah.
We've done it 7 years and I think it's probably changed almost every other year. So, we like to just be as ready as we can. But yeah, we're about as curious as you are.
So I'm not going to be able to make the trip out there. I'm not going to be traveling. But I wish you the best of luck. Is there anybody else on the list here who has any questions about anything that they're concerned about? Anything you want to ask me before we go?
Oh, yes. So we are, so another part of our testing was separation testing. We did not have the motor in like a post-fire configuration. The way our motor works, we have a phenolic liner around some fuel grains. And we found out when that liner was not in place, when we fire a separation charge, because of the nature of our coupler, we actually displaced the forward closure downwards. So we're looking at potentially putting some sort of bracket together to keep those in place. So
So it looks like.
yeah, if you want to bring it into the frame. This is kind of the
Other
view.
way.
Oh yeah, it would be the other way. This is what the assembly together would look like, and this outer diameter that my hand's rubbing on, those are O-ring grooves, so that's what the tube is going around. Essentially what would happen is when we fire the ejection charge, this moves a little bit without the phenolic case. Now we would like to test it with that in because we believe the strength of the case would be good, but do you have any recommendations for possibly how to fasten this forward closure to the aluminum coupler, so we don't have to create any holes in the pressure vessel? That's something we're really trying to get out of the habit of this year. Previously, our fins were mounted with through holes, bolts with red Loctite on them that we didn't have any issues with, but wanted to maybe improve that design. So, any questions there, or do you think that if we do testing and find out that phenolic liner is adequate, that we don't need to worry about it?
Well, you certainly need to test it again under circumstances where it doesn't come out. Is there a nozzle or some kind of plug in that end of the motor when you did your test?
Yeah, so this was the plug. So I guess our separation point is right on the top of this motor coupler. And so basically we're pressurizing this down. But no, we did not have a plug on like the nozzle end or anything. That end was left open. I guess if
Andrew,
that's what you're asking. Yeah.
you guys have remanufactured the nozzle, and you still have the nozzle from the test fire.
Oh, yes.
So you should conceivably be able to cut a piece of liner or tubing that would fit between the old. You would basically install the old nozzle.
Yeah.
So slide your forward closure in there, slide a piece of just tubing that would take up the distance between that forward closure and your nozzle,
Yeah.
and then secure the old nozzle carrier, and that should hold that bulkhead in place when you do
Yeah.
your test fire for your ejection charge.
Okay.
And then
So
the,
just having the whole motor assembly.
yeah,
Mhm.
In there.
then the concern there was the reason testing without it was preferable is because if we get any burn through, like you see if this one here, like it might not be as structurally sound after the burn when that separation event is taking place. So it, yeah, that was. kind
So
of
like
the
we don't
concern.
want to damage our liner before.
Well, no, not.
We're just
not-
worried the
the
liner
will
would not.
burn through in actual conditions. When we fly it, the liner might burn. And then that
My,
would,
my experience with getting burnt liners out of cases, even when they're burnt through like that,
yeah.
is very difficult. So I don't think
Okay.
you're going to like collapse the existing liner.
So yeah, what we will do is we will cut a new
Yeah,
liner
we have extra casing.
to our leg because we need to install our current grains that we have poured in it anyway. And then we will retest before IREC, and we can email or share those results with you if you need about how that worked out with the liner in there. But yeah, if you think the structure of that will be adequate through separation, we should be fine there.
I agree with David on that, that just something to hold it in place would be just fine. And
Mhm.
if you don't want to risk a liner at that point, you could take a piece of lumber, 4x4 piece of lumber, cut it to exactly the right length, take up all the distance between the nozzle and the forward bulkhead
Yep.
and fire it that way and do your separation test that way. Because that way the forward bulkhead is certainly going nowhere.
Yeah,
To-
yeah,
to
we have-
that, you could even just cut a plywood ring that would be secured at, or plywood disc that would be
Mhm.
secured at either end of that piece of lumber that Alan was mentioning, just
Yeah.
to make sure you're up against the edges of
And not like hitting
the
our nozzle.
carrier.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and I would really like to see that because the ejection tests, it's close, but it felt a little bit weak
Yeah.
Mhm.
based on the video. I
And-
would have liked to seen it be a little bit more
and-
energetic than it was.
Looking closely at it too, I think not all of the powder was actually burnt. Like there was very clear grain still around. I don't know if that's common when you're doing an ejection charge test or if we should see all of that being gone.
You should see a lot more burn. You will see some soot and some residue left behind. We can talk a little bit about how to properly tape up and how to set up those. Did you put wadding on top of the black
We
powder between the
did,
tape?
yes.
Okay,
I believe we did, yes.
okay, because that's important to hold that all in place. And it's several layers of tape. I guess I know a thing or two about charge wells, so. Alan, I don't. I'm the. Are you a Tripoli flyer?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'm the owner of Rocket Junkies. I manufacture charge wells and bulkheads and so forth.
Ah, okay.
So that like I said, I know a thing or two about charge wells. So I'll help them make sure that they've got the charge wells secured properly, and what you want to do is just try to create as much of a seal on the top of that as possible to hold that powder in. So.
But I would agree that if you see loose grains of unburnt black powder in your ejection wells, something wasn't right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we figured that, and so we wanted to reconvene and then retest with that hardware all set up. So we weren't able to do that before this meeting, but we'll definitely do it here shortly, probably before June even. So we're ready for IREC.
Good idea.
Awesome. Any more questions you guys that you might have, or Dave, this is going to be your first trip to IREC, right? Dave?
Correct. Yep. This is my first experience. So, looking forward to it.
Mhm.
Seems it's exciting. So, and these guys have done a fantastic job. Just learning and listening, and you know, I've been up there and met with them a few times, and every time it's very ambitious and very knowledgeable group. So I'm excited to see how they do.
Very good.
Yeah, and to follow up on the battery for the Kate, I looked on the Kate website and the Kate comes assembled with the battery, and in the rules it says lithium polymer batteries are not permitted due to fire hazards unless installed and manufactured or in the powered device by the manufacturer or recommended and supplied, so this, by the manufacturer. So since it was, installed by the manufacturer, we should be good with that ruling unless, you had.
No, that sounds like that's exactly the sort of thing they wanted to accept from that ruling. So I think you're good with that.
Okay,
Cool, thank you.
thank you.
Well, good luck, guys.
Yeah, appreciate
Okay,
it. Thank you
thanks so
for your
much.
time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all enjoy your trip to New Mexico. I think you'll like it a lot. I wish I were going back.
It's
It's a fun one.
Yeah, it's a trip for us.
oh yeah, it's very different from northern Minnesota. It's quite the change in climate. So it's always fun to experience that and make sure we do the proper safety talks. But it's fun going out in the desert on hikes with people. They have never seen stuff like that sometimes. So
No,
always-
yeah, I live in the eastern part of North Carolina, and it is almost tropical here with trees everywhere. And so going in the desert for me is a fascinating experience. The year I was there, it rained every day.
Oh.
Yeah.
yeah, that was my first year at Iraq. I remember that. We couldn't
Yeah.
believe it. It was
Even washed out the road to Spaceport
Mhm.
America.
Yep.
yeah.
So you never know what you're going to get, but the desert is a beautiful place. Y'all have a good time.
Yeah, thank you.
See
Take
you
care.
later.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let me get out of here. All right.
I'm gonna stop the recording now.
Say, Dagan, could you
Yeah.
send me that document